Hello YouTube viewers, welcome along to the Racing TV studio and thank you for watching a special preview of a couple of races at York and indeed Ascot this Saturday alongside myself and the man to my left, Sam Turner. Very much looking forward to Sam talking to yourself and going through races at York like the Dash, the York Stakes, and at Ascot the Valiant and the one we can't get away from, the midsummer showpiece, the King George, which has just got so much history and legacy.
Certainly has, yeah. Brilliant weekend as well. Something for everyone, I think, with very competitive handicaps, good group races, and of course the pinnacle of the midsummer or the high summer pinnacle, isn't it? The King George select group, just the 5, but all Group 1 winners.
5, absolutely, representing the elite world powers in racing as well. Juddmonte, Godolphin, Coolmore, of course. No 3-year-olds, as you were saying. So, have you sort of refined your idea of who the likeliest winner was without giving it away throughout the week?
Yeah, I think so. The smaller field probably helps the selection as well, so we'll tease that one. But yeah, fingers crossed we've landed on the right one. Anyway, I know that we differ, don't we?
We do.
In our conclusion, but
which is pleasing, given that it's only a 5-runner field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, try and spread our bets, can't we? So, and you would think that continuous would be a huge prize to pull off a shock. And there have been shocks in this race before, but that would be a major surprise.
Wouldn't it just? So it's 50 years since, for many, the greatest race of the 20th century, which was Grundy versus Bastino back in 1975. The King George has been, for so many, one of the most important races, one of the best races, of course, throughout each and every season. Have you got a particular favourite? I'm not asking you to go back 50 years.
That's difficult. Yeah, I probably could go back 50 years. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, when you were still in, well, I don't think you were even in short trousers when Toto won in 1988, but he was a horse that I loved. You know, got a great burst of acceleration. Mouse Roberts got on extremely well with him. There was a little bit of a question mark whether he was going to run in the 1988 King George because they'd had a bit of rain, the ground was good, and that sort of blunted his natural acceleration and speed. Now, I haven't got any finishing speed percentages or sectional times to hand. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to do those, but you know, if you go back and watch the race on YouTube, kids, it was, you know, a tremendous performance. He was in a pretty uncompromising position turning for home, had to circumnavigate the whole field, come down the middle of the track. And you're talking good horses in behind. Umfuan and Tony Bin was third and reversed those placings, of course, later on in the year in the Arc, which is a tremendous duel between the two of them again. But Toto, for me, I just love that horse. He was a brilliant winner of the Eclipse and a good winner of the King George.
I'd have loved to have seen him. I'm going to go, what, a decade or so later, and I think for many, one of the best horses, certainly at the end of the 20th century, cresting the millennium, Monsieur had the lot. And when he won the King George at the end of the 20th century, you don't see Group 1 races very often, let alone the King George one in the style that Monsieur did.
No, he was a sparkling racehorse, wasn't he? And there've been a host of them in this race, really, in the last 30 or 40 years. A lovely blend, isn't it, of stamina, but the ability to quicken as well, and he had that.
He teased it nicely. Right, on with the race previews as we look forward to Saturday. And our first race preview this Saturday that we'll be looking forward to is the Dash from York. It comes up as race 2, 2 o'clock, Class 2 event, big field, 22 runners declared. These are they: Toyotomi Headstone, Jordan Electrics, further down the likes of Corkeny's little introduction. El Monjed might have a few hiding places as regards to handicap mark. I certainly think so. Pocklington's there, Sophia's Starlight, Indian Run, who won a group race as a juvenile at York. Jubilee Walk down at the bottom. This is just page 1 of the field. Huge spread across the track. Ali's Dance we'll be talking about. Jungle Drums, Arctic Thunder, Rousing Encore down to the likes of Orne, Brooklyn 99. And Rock Opera. Let's have a look at some Yorkshire-based form at Pontefract at the start of the month. It involves Rousing Encore and the winner, Ali's Dancer, who comes into this now off the back of that success, Sam, in great form.
Yeah, and as we see, Pontefract can often favour those front runners, those exuberant types that like to get on with it, get on that rail and blast away from the stalls. And this is what Ali's Dancer did here. Back to these sort of tactics as well, with Kevin Stott on board, who's got a great record. I mean, I think 5 of his 7 career wins have come with Kevin on board. He blasted away, beat Badgery, who has since run really well behind a handicap good thing at Ayr in a competitive race. So it was a sparkling performance. Rousing Encore probably paid for trying to chase that pace.
Absolutely. Right, very often in these kind of handicaps, certainly, Sam, when I look at this year's race, an obvious thing to do is go back to last year and see which of the cast are back. And we've got a couple of the key players, certainly, in the form of Rock Opera, who finished third. Key runner, certainly, Corker, who finished second. This behind Rage of Bambi, who we recently saw winning a group race. How much does last year's form stand up this year, do you think?
Well, it's a nice pointer, isn't it? I think it was good to remind yourself of what a tortuous passage Rock Opera had through this race, to be honest. And he's done well to sneak in off the bottom here because obviously there was between 35 and 40 5-day declarations for this, of which he was well down the list. But as you can see here, he's charged home. And you'd think with a clear passage might well have nailed second on his own and even finished closer to Rage of Bambi, who we saw to such good effect last Saturday.
OK, now, certain tracks, different idiosyncrasies, different sort of setups altogether. Let's go from having a look at York form to Epsom form. And this is 2 starts ago with a horse called Alza here, who just continues to go from strength to strength. Handled Epsom absolutely fine. This was leg 2 of now a treble, because the horse has since gone on to win at Ascot, Sam.
Yeah, he's been incredible, this horse, really. I mean, he made the most of a favourable draw at Ascot, I think, but still dropped to 5 furlongs for the first time, won a very competitive handicap last time. Then we go back to Epsom. This was off the back of a good win at Chester, where he was dropped back to 6 furlongs back in June, and then built on that with a victory and a defeat of Sanka Verde. And then here showed great resolution and tenacity to see off Mr. Bluebird. This was a really game and, as I say, tenacious performance to go and win there. He's gone from 90 to 101 in the twinkling of an eye, really.
Amazing.
And Jenny Candlish, 27 flat winners this year, best ever campaign.
OK. Taking all into account and looking at a few of the leading contenders, are any of them on your win list? Who are you going for?
Well, I think if Elise Dancer's in the same sort of form and you know, mood as he was at Pontefract, he's going to set a good test, I'd say, over on the far side. He's going to go a good lick there and draw those horses drawn low into the race. I think that'll certainly help, you know, 1 or 2 that are in and around him, like Jubilee Walk, for instance. I could see Corker running well again, even though he's 18. You know, he's a horse that just invariably is there and thereabouts in these York Sprint handicaps. So they will probably be the couple that I would centre on. OK, so the likeliest winner is at the end of it. Jubilee Walk, I think, is a really interesting contender for James Ferguson. Stable just coming into a little bit of form, and he's got some form at York. I thought it was a nice comeback as well at Chester. He's had a wind up, he's been gelded, so they've done all the various remedial work with him, and I think he's got a fair bit of talent. He just wanted to dry out a little bit, I think, because you know, obviously just catches his wind a touch.
OK. I'm going to go for Elmon Jed, who's got a career profile of 4 from 10 so far for Shadwell and for William Haggis. The cheap pieces go back on, the tongue ties on as well, and a horse who won at the track at the Big Ebor meeting, 11 months ago, I think still has a little bit up the sleeve, and I don't think it's been running too badly. Elmon Jed, who I think could be well worth following in sprint handicaps, might just be that for Saturday. Best of luck, whatever you're going for. Next race to preview is the second of the 2 added World Pool feature races this Saturday from York, which we're very much looking forward to. It is the feature race on the day. It is the York Stakes, and it comes up as race 3 on the programme. Small but select, and a quality field all the way through. 1 mile, 2.5 the distance. 7 declared runners. Almacam, Certain Ladder, Career Secret, Royal Champion, and then we start looking at the 3-year-olds. Bay City Roller, Green Impact, Stanhope Gardens, good horses, but the record for that particular generation is not great whatsoever. Almacam is going to be the star attraction for so many, and earlier this week we caught up with his trainer Ed Walker.
Yeah, we were probably a bit disappointed in the Gordon Richards, but we, you know, like most trainers, we've not been on the grass, but he's a big burly horse, and I think he really needed the run there. So that was a little bit disappointing, but he made the obvious step, you know, big step forward in the Brigadier Gerard, and the form's obviously, you know, been franked well and truly with Ombudsman, and you know, we think he belongs at the highest level. We always have had him in very high regard, and you know, we're taking a gradual route, but I think it's a sensible route, and we're just having to be patient with the ground. It's sod's law that we've got such a talented horse, and he needs a bit of give in the ground, and we've had the driest summer ever, but his time will come, and we just got to be patient. We're going to a Group 2 on Saturday, and that's a sort of natural progression from a Group 3. And that's by no means an easy task. It's a strong race, and there's some very good horses in there. So he's going to have to step forward again. And I think Ombudsman stepped forward significantly from Sandown to Ascot, and again to back to the Eclipse. So I think Almacam's going to have to step forward again to win at York, and hopefully he does, and then we're back into the Group 1s.
And there we go, Ed Walker waxing lyrical, and rightly so, about really a very, very special horse to him, and all connected to the yard. He has all the big entries going forward. You would expect so. He's a high-level racehorse, and we're looking forward to seeing, Sam, whether he can make it 2 from 3 for the season, and indeed supplement that success from last time, which doesn't look too bad now, does it?
No, absolutely not. And obviously he's a bit of a hostage to the ground and conditions, this lad, and that ruled him out of the Eclipse, unfortunately. That would have been great to see him in that. But look, he's been found an excellent opportunity here, a real window of opportunity for him. Marne Quarter, they've had good showers on the Naysmire and plenty of rainfall in the last 7 days, which will really play to his strengths. And we see him here battling on very gamely to beat off Ombudsman, who, in fairness to him, probably needed this run, and this was a stepping stone for him into Royal Ascot, where he was so impressive. But I just love the way that Almacam goes about it, and he's never ever getting headed here, is he? Machine Murphy doesn't have to rely on the persuader too much until at least inside the distance. A couple of wake-up calls and he stretches away at the line. They go well clear of the third. It's a really sparkling performance. And
he's got an entry, of course, in the Jump International in August, the Irish champion, the Arc. He is a 4-year-old, but he's had only, 8 starts? They've been careful to mind him.
Absolutely, yeah. And, Ed Walker's really treated him like a top-class horse, and that's the right way to go with him, because when he has conditions that present themselves to him, he's almost unbeatable. Very, very strong stayer at 10 furlongs. Very likeable individual as well. Got a great temperament in the way he goes about it. Just needs that cut in the ground to show off his best.
OK, let's have a look at a horse who certainly saw cut in the ground when last in action. That was at the beginning of June. That was Stanhope Gardens, running 5th in the Derby. Shouldn't be forgotten, of course, that this horse had a race put on for him at Salisbury the time before, which he duly obliged in. He's 2 from 5 for his career. They go back in trip. Rafe Beckett has never hidden his affection for this horse.
Well, neither should he. I mean, you look back through his form, he gets better almost by the week, doesn't he? The 3rd to Ruling Court at Sandown, the 2nd to the subsequent Eclipse winner, Delacroix, in the Autumn Stakes at Newmarket, the back end last year. Yes, he went and had an exercise gallop at Salisbury, rather unorthodox preparation for this race, the Derby, but he still acquitted himself really well. His stride cadences suggest that a mile and a quarter should be absolutely perfect. Mile 2.5 be absolutely ideal for Stanhope Gardens. I think he's a big player here if that 3-year-old hoodoo could be beaten.
He doesn't know that his generation down the years in this race over the last decade or so have not exactly flown the flag.
No, and I think the one point we should make about York is that very few of these have got any experience of the Naysmire, and it can be a very individualistic track. Some horses operate very well at York and some don't, so they've always got to factor that into calculations a little bit, and that is a little bit of a question mark with Almacam and indeed Stanhope Gardens. But, all being well, these two should have a right good duel.
OK. In conclusion, then, are you going to stick to the tried and tested that is the older horses, and are you going to go for option A, if you will, Almacam?
Yeah, I think he's a very hard horse to look beyond. I'm pleased that Stanhope Gardens is in there because he represents the Derby form. I think coming back to a mile and a quarter, ideal for him.
There we go. I'm very much with you. I think it is the day where we see Almacam launch what is going to be the back end of a very strong season indeed. We were teased it with that success over Ombudsman at Sandown back in May. I think he'll use this as a launch pad into the rest of the campaign, and Almacam should take all the beating on Saturday. We are very much looking forward to Ascot being the full card as part of the World Pool, of course, this Saturday. We're going to hone in on the third race, which is the Valiant Stakes, the first of our 2 World Pool preview races. It's run for the fillies and mares, of course. It is a good race and it brings together the generations. Cheshire Dancer heads them. There's Jancis, who's very useful indeed. Lulu's Gift, Royal Dress, Sunfall, American Gal, Bermuda Longtail, Cajole, Chantilly Lace, Glittering Surf and Pina Sonata. What a cool name that is. Let's have a look at one that we haven't seen so much of, Sam, and that is Chantilly Lace. Now, I imagine this is going to be quite a wide open looking race. Chantilly Lace, just the third attempt of the career, ran a good race at Royal Ascot last time. We're seeing her run in the Guineas prior, which was a similar effort.
Yeah, and this was an excellent effort, really. Now, you can sort of pour scorn on the form a little bit and you know, surmise that it perhaps hasn't worked out as we would have liked. You know, a lot of fillies finishing, you know, with a couple of 3 horse blankets to cover them. But Chantilly Lace pitched into this level just on her second start off the back of that Salisbury novice win. Really, really good effort from her, very solid. And she built on that, I think, running to a similar level, really, at Royal Ascot behind Cecine.
Yes.
Just looking as if that round track was a little bit quick for her. I'd like to see her perhaps mile 1, mile 2, perhaps later on in the year. I think she's learning on the job a little bit. She was just a little bit tap for toe in the straight there as 1 or 2 went past her late on, like January.
Yeah, well, very much so. And I've always thought, you know, given the fact that she's been pitched in so deep for a yard that have got such a stronghold, whatever the year group with the fillies, probably speaks volumes. Let's have a look at Cajole, who ran a very good race at Royal Ascot 2 starts ago in the Sandringham. She was only beaten a length. She was then beaten exactly that same margin at Sandown, a listed company. She's getting better.
She is. She's certainly improving on the job, isn't she? Really good effort at Ascot as well. Big price that day and excelled. And then just couldn't get past Blue Bolt here, who's a very talented Juddmonte filly, who probably had the run of things from the front and boxed on really gamely to win in good style this listed contest. This represents another sort of step up in class for Cajole, but look, she's run on the straight track at Ascot. She's not run on the round track as yet, but I like the fact that she's got plenty of synthetic form as well, because that often translates to Ascot. So she's definitely a big player. She stays the trip well and just couldn't get past the game front runner at Sandown.
I mentioned Rafe Beckett having a good stranglehold with fillies. I think James Tate deserves to be thrown into that bracket as well with some of his. He could have run Cloud Cover. He runs Royal Dress. Royal Dress, who absolutely bolted up in a reasonable race. The Pipalong, of course, at Pontefract earlier this month. I thought this was excellent.
Yeah, they went a real good gallop here, and that very much suited Royal Dress, who sort of just appeared on the scene, didn't she, in the straight under Clifford Lee, gave her a beautiful ride, finessed her to the front, and she quickened in the style of a really nice horse. She beat Cheshire Dancer here, who was a horse that she ought to have been beating on official ratings, but look, she's won there head in chest. Loved the fast ground. Loved the strong pace to run at, and I think she's a major player here.
She's got Group 1 entry down the line as well, and she is mature and getting better with age. Let's have a look at a couple of the 3-year-olds who we know that little bit less about. Glittering Surf finishing 5th at York, 2nd, and the best of the placers on the day was Bermuda Longtail. We'll be having a look at this. This was the Michael Seeley. I'm going to talk about Glittering Surf in due course. She got a little upset in the early stages of the race. I don't think she gave her running. Bermuda Longtail ran well, but that's what she does mainly.
Yes, I mean, you're probably a better place to talk about this race than myself, but I thought Glittering Surf, I was very, very taken with her when she beat Bermuda Longtail at Kempton back in the spring. That was a really good performance. And just here, sort of she rolled around a little bit on the ground and she just looked at a little bit of an inexperienced and raw filly. That was her first time on turf. I think she might find Ascot a more comfortable vacation for her, venue, I should say. I think she's the type of filly that is going to thrive as the season wears on.
So, given that there's a depth potentially to the 3-year-olds, there are a number of older filly and mares in the race. Are you going to go for the classic generation or elsewhere?
Well, I would have been interested in Pina Sonata, but I don't like the one box for her on the round track. I think she's definitely a filly to keep on side as the grounds ease a little bit and the autumn comes. I think there's more improvement in her, so I must give her a shout out. But I'm going to go with Royal Dress. I think I won't say she's battle worn, but you know what you're going to get. She's pretty tough, durable. She comes here in really good heart. She hasn't had too long a campaign either, just a 4th start. I like the fact that she's running here instead of a stablemate.
I'm going to take a real chance, and it is that, according to the markets, potentially, on Glittering Surf. She's had only 3 starts. She's very, very impressive start to life on the all-weather, and I think the ground, as much as that, her trainer said the ground counted against her at York last time. Time was, actually, that they were even considering running her in the Coronation, the Group 1 race at Royal Ascot. They hold her in high esteem, and the ground should suit that much better. She's got, of course, form to find, but I think she's worth a punt. It is Glittering Surf in the Valiant for me. Best of luck with whatever you're playing. And on to the big one of Saturday, and for many, the big one of the whole season is the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Stakes, which is run over 1 mile 4, and it is a race of real history, prestige, legacy and serious importance. Looking forward to this race immensely from Ascot this weekend. We are whittled down to the 5, and a fab 5 they are for the Group 1 feature of the day, which comes up as race 6 at Ascot, 4:10 on Saturday afternoon. Calandagan, for last year's winning trainer, is going to be, for many, the likeliest winner, but he got to reverse the form with Jan Bruegel from when they met at Epsom in the early part of June. Continuous is there as a pacemaker for Jan Bruegel. Not bad to have a St Ledger winning pacemaker. Rebels Romance, the extraordinary globetrotter that he is there, and the filly is Kalpana. They are your Fab 5 for the King George. Just give us your overview of the race. What do you think?
I'm enthralled to see the rematch between Calandagan and Jan Bruegel.
Yep.
I think there's some good outliers in the race as well alongside. I think Kalpana adds a bit of intrigue. Continues his presence as well at 150 to 1. What effect is he going to have on the race? Because he's bound to have an effect. I just think it's a really, really exciting renewal.
Sam, let's go back to the key form line. We can't really get away from this. 50 days ago, as it will be come Saturday, and Jan Bruegel's success over Calandagan in the Coronation Cup. Now, on the day, a lot of people might have just said, you know, Calandagan doesn't want it. He didn't go past. Jan Bruegel deserves a lot of credit. Of course he does. Have you, in the time since, we now know that Calandagan's gone on to win another group or win a Group 1, have you re-evaluated how you assess this race since?
Well, I think it's interesting that if you were going to have a bet on which one of those two was going to wear headgear later down the line when they re-met, you wouldn't think it'd be Jan Bruegel who's got the cheek pieces on for the first time on Saturday. You'd probably think it would have been Calandagan. But at least Calandagan has got that Group 1 monkey off his back by winning the Grand Prix de Saint-Cloud in good style as well. I think that's the 2nd time he's won in a 5-runner field. Is that an omen for Saturday? It'll be the 3rd time he races in a 5-runner field. Can he retain that unbeaten record? It just reminded him what it was like to win again as well. I mean, he beat a good horse as well in Aventure, 2nd in an arc last year. So it's not as if he's fluked a Group 1 against bad rivals.
It shouldn't be forgotten that his previous success was an absolute hack job in the King Edward VII at Royal Ascot, so the course and distance doesn't fade.
Absolutely, and really unlucky not to have won the Champion Stakes as well when Amman produced that remarkable surge to win last autumn as well. Otherwise, he would then be 2 from 2.
OK, let's have a look at the filly of the race. That is Kalpana. Now, she is no stranger to success at Ascot either. She was emphatic when she won on Kipco British Champions Day at the end of last year. She's run twice this season so far, Sam, behind Los Angeles and Tattersalls Gold Cup, and then when beaten by a star 3-year-old Whirl in the Pretty Polly, both of which have been over 10 furlongs. She steps back up in trip. I think this is just going to suit her, of course, as we see her defeat to Whirl last time. Yeah,
I think 1.5 miles will be ideal as well. Probably getting away from the Curragh as well. Won't go amiss for her. And a bit more juice in the ground, ideal. You can't see why she wouldn't run a huge race here. She looks to have had the whole season geared around this race. Obviously, the arc as well is very.
I think there's two targets. Yeah. This is mid and later down the line as well.
Which is perfect. Andrew Balding's racing away with the amount of winners that he's trained since January 1 as well in the calendar list. So every reason to believe that Kalpana's going to run a huge race here. Certainly not a filly I'd take lightly. I just thought she had her heart broken a little bit by Whirl in the Curragh. She just looked as though she was coming to win the race and just couldn't get by. I wonder whether there'll be a couple of these runners in this race might challenge a little bit wide of Jan Bruegel, perhaps. I think Calandagan, one late swoop, that might be the way to play with him.
Interesting to see how long Continuous can take them.
Yes. or whether he wants to take them.
Or whether because he has started blowing the start. He did actually against Kalpana a couple of starts ago, but that is all part of the fascinating conundrum that we've got on Saturday. Should we throw in a global world champion, Rebels Romance, for Team Godolphin, who is 18 from 26. He has won on every corner of the globe. He is just extraordinary. I think William Buick called him his best friend, and when he won at York just a couple of starts ago now, I'm sure that cemented the friendship even further.
I think the 11 million in sterling that he's won prize money probably
like an ATM.
If you won me 11 million pounds, Nicholas, I think I'd be your best friend as well. UK, America, Germany, Hong Kong, UAE, Qatar. He's won everywhere.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
Absolutely unbelievable. So, a fantastic racehorse, 18 career wins, seeming, real tenacious win at York, back over the mile and a half, which is obviously the conditions he won a Hardwick in. Al Riffer has boosted the form since.
And I just wonder whether he's a bit of a throwback in ways to some of the Godolphin horses of maybe the late 90s and so on, that, the proper Globetrotters that would always have the King George on their dance card.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly a strategy that Charlie Appleby's employed in recent years, isn't it? If there aren't races for us in the UK, then we're going to go and travel and we'll go to America and we'll have a little team set up out there as a satellite yard, and that's the way that he's gone with Rebels Romance, not been scared to take him to Hong Kong or UAE or Qatar or wherever it may be.
OK. At the end of all this, we actually mentioned the Arc. There's a couple of them that can't run in the Arc, of course, by dint of being geldings. Rebels Romance is one of them. Calandagan is also one of them. So it kind of makes you think there are going to be more sort of mid-season targets than that great end-of-season target. Does that influence this decision for who you've put up as your winner?
Yes and no in some respects. I mean, it hasn't been a race that's been particularly kind to Aidan O'Brien in recent years. I think he's only won it once, hasn't he, with Highland Reel in the last 10 years. So they'll certainly want to, end that hoodoo. But I think Calandagan with the Ascot form is an aspect that I like. I think he's unlucky not to be 2 from 2 here. He won't mind just a bit of genuine good ground. And I'm hoping Michael Barcelona's going to come down the middle of the track, steer away from Jan Bruegel, don't go and eyeball him, stay well away and just use that one burst of speed that Calandagan has.
So even in a 5-runner field, we are going to differ. I am going to go for the filly in the race, Kalpana, to return to Ascot and return to the winner's enclosure. Just watch back that performance when she won on British Champions Day back in October if you can, and familiarise yourself with her in the winner's enclosure, because hopefully, for myself, she'll be doing just that come Saturday. So what a big Saturday we've got ahead. 10 World Pool races to look forward to, 8 of which, of course, at Ascot, 2 at York, and you can really get involved. You can bet on course or online through tote.co.uk. So get yourselves there if you want to interact with any of the races come Saturday. And what a mouth-watering day it is. I can't wait.
No, it's a fabulous day. I always think York and Ascot put on brilliant racing, and we're going to be treated to some big fields. There'll be some right value about in those World Pools, and also some top-class racing.
Absolutely. And thank you very much to Sam. Thank you for watching. The very best of luck indeed for Saturday, a big punting and sporting afternoon.